Hello, and welcome to Upfront. My name is Dean Thullner Veljacic, and we are filming on the unceded Nanaimo traditional territory. On this episode of Upfront, I have the pleasure of sitting down with John Boudreau Kenn Hample of the Nanaimo District Men's Shed Society. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. Welcome.
Thank you so much for joining me. Well, I think we should start off by trying to inform the audience, what is Men's Shed? Ken?
Well, I guess the simplest way, Dean, to describe it is that it's a place where men can gather and do men things.
Okay.
It's a place where men can feel comfortable, can feel safe, and they can create, they can learn, they can connect, which is probably the most important thing, in an atmosphere of friendship, camaraderie, and no pressure and no judgment.
Oh, that sounds great. How long has this Men's Shed in Nanaimo been going?
We formed and created just about a little better than 2 years now, 2023.
So I wanted to spend a little time talking about the Men's Shed history. So how did Men's Shed come to fruition?
It actually started in Australia in 1993. And, excuse me, it's grown through like 15 countries since then.
Yes, I think I've got a list here. It says it's global. There's over 3,000 operating in 12 countries.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's incredible.
And continuing to grow. And then in Canada, it started in Winnipeg. In
my hometown.
There you go. 2011 started there.
Right.
And then it has expanded ever since in Canada. There's about 147, I think, in Canada now, and counting. There's 80 in BC, and we've probably got about 15, 16 on the island. So, and as Ken said, we started in 83 here. Ken and his son started the Nanaimo Shed Society here.
That was an error. It's not 83, it's 23.
23? That's fine. Yeah. So I understand the first shed in Canada was Hackberry, Ontario, but clearly it's taken off and there's obviously a need for this, right? So I wanted to talk about some statistics that I pulled up. The World Health Organization declares social isolation as a global epidemic. And they say that men that are 65 or older are at highest rate of suicide amongst any gender or age group. So I guess my question is when I think about Men's Shed and I think about mental health and men's mental health, what attracts men to be part of Men's Shed, or what does Men's Shed do for mental health?
Well, what it can do is in a non-structured, non-professional, non-commercial way, try to address the issues that lead to men feeling isolated. We know from various sociological type studies, psychological studies, that people who are feeling isolated can become lonely, which can lead to feelings of depression and even greater feelings than that. And so they end up sitting at home watching reruns of The Price is Right, rather than getting out and getting involved with the community. That's where the Men's Shed comes in. We offer an opportunity for people, men who would not otherwise have an opportunity to get out of the house, to connect, to in fact do that. We often describe a Men's Shed as some place to go, something to do, someone to talk to. And in that way, we know that when the men can connect, that if they can do so in a non-threatening way, in a non-judgmental way, that can lessen those feelings of loneliness, depression, and isolation, and in fact, improve and boost their whole sense of well-being.
Of course. And isolation, I guess it's safe to say that as men age, and perhaps they may lose their wives or they may retire and they're not able to have the same camaraderie at work, or perhaps their children move, that some of these or all of these together, like a domino syndrome, can create isolation and therefore create mental health issues. And my background, I think you gentlemen know, I worked extensively with fundraising for mental health. Quite often when people are in these situations, in fact, we may have someone watching this today, doesn't quite understand or even understand that they've gotten to this point. And so one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show today was to make it aware that perhaps you could be at home or in this situation, and that there are resources and there are activities and there are organizations like Men's Shed that can help people move through this difficult time in life.
Yeah. And it's not just mental, it's also physical.
Yes.
So certainly reducing the anxiety, depression, etc., and loneliness.
So physical, what does that mean? Can you elaborate?
Yeah, because at the shed, we've chosen, like each shed chooses what that shed wants to do. So there's a national organization now, there's provincial organizations. There are more resources, they're not telling each shed what to do. We decide that. So for our shed, we decided to start with woodworking. So just the fact of coming in, helping people out, working on whatever project we're on, gets you physically active, and you're working what we call shoulder to shoulder, and that's how men start to talk. Because typically, as you say, when you retire or you're home alone for whatever reason, you desocialize as a man. So all those hundreds of people that you knew and talked to aren't there anymore. So that's where the isolation starts and the depression after that. But with the Men's Shed, there's a video that Vernon Shed put together that we show. And at the beginning, there's an elderly man that gets off a bus going in, and he says something to the effect, I used to be alone, now I have a purpose, and purpose is the key, right? And because when you're sitting at home and you've worked all your life doing whatever, that's not there now, so what do you do? And a lot of men don't know what to do. And so this gives you a purpose. You can come, be part of a group.
And give back to the community.
And give back to the community in a big way. So there's a social side also because you're with men.
Of course.
And so being able to be together with all that reduces the loneliness and improves your self-worth. So.
And I can imagine not everyone comes with the same skill set, so it could improve your skill sets as well,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. I think too, Dean, it's important to note that men's sheds are not staffed by mental health professionals, and we don't provide therapy, and we don't provide programming of any sort. What we do provide is an opportunity for some activity that will enhance the feelings of purpose and
camaraderie.
And
we all need community.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And that all just leads
you want to belong to something.
Exactly. It leads to connection, leads to contact, and that's where the therapy starts to happen. The sheds in Ireland have coined a phrase, they call it health by stealth. Because the members there don't even realize that it's happening because it's not a structured program. And we know from various studies and other resources that men, they get leery of being in a structured help program. And so the Men's Shed isn't that. The Men's Shed is something that happens and evolves naturally and encourages that connection and that camaraderie.
Well, I imagine that the demographic in this time period of the men that are going to Men's Shed grew up in that sort of environment where men don't cry, men don't talk about their feelings, men shouldn't show weakness, and we know that didn't work. And God bless the younger generation now that are woke and that they're able to express themselves. But you can verify this, I guess, but I can imagine a lot of the men that come to Men's Shed not only feel isolated, but are not able to express sometimes how they feel.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why doing things together helps that to open up. So whether you're working on a project or you can just come and have a coffee, And one of the things we're trying to do now is get more social programs going. Why don't we go for a walk? right? Have a barbecue, do something together, right?
So I want to go back to skill sets. So let's say I wanted to be part of Men's Shed and I want to join up. We're going to talk about how to do that in a second. But what skill do you need skills to join, or what skills do you need to bring, or are any skills welcome? I don't understand. Like, let's say I'm a chartered accountant, but you guys are going to be doing woodworking. How is that going to work for me?
Well,
am I going to learn, I guess?
Yeah, that's one of the great things about it. That's one of the things that attracted me to it. I've done some woodworking myself, but to be around men with years of experience and skill sets, and you don't have to be super skilled. It's just if you want to learn and you want to participate, that's the main thing. Because there's a safety side to it we always are aware of, and we try to show and train on either the saws we're using or whatever, so it's safety, and then they know that they can feel comfortable with that.
So when we look at Men's Shed in Nanaimo, what is your vision? Where are you now? What are your needs, and where do you see this going, or where would you like to see this go?
Well, we've kind of gone a bit of a up and down curve the last couple of years. We do try to establish a physical space, although that's not necessary in some cases. We know of other sheds that have had meetings at a Tim Hortons, or on a park bench, or in the library, or in the basement of a church. So a physical space isn't necessary, but it is very helpful, of course. And so our first challenge was to establish that space. And so that was our vision. It was to have a space where men could come, could feel comfortable, could feel safe, could feel relaxed, without any sort of consideration of ethnic origin, age, sexual orientation, or any sort of medical needs, that kind of thing. Just come and be part of the Men's Shed. The other part of our vision is that we only have 2 criteria for membership. One is that you must be at least 18 years old. And the second is that you come with an attitude of respect that goes towards all of the other members. And so to reach that kind of vision, we try to establish, John mentioned, some forms of activity. And the initial group got together and decided that they wanted to do woodworking. And so that became part of our mission, was to create the space that we could do woodworking in. But we're not limited to that. And then from there, we wanted to create socializing kinds of opportunities, as well as, in addition to that, opportunities to give back to the community. And so our vision is this group of men who are relaxed, who are friends, who like to get together, like to encourage each other in doing those various kinds of things, creating or learning, or just simply connecting with each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's quite impressive in this political climate and the sort of awareness of acceptance. And you mentioned, diversity, neurodiversity, LGBTQ2A+, ethnic, religious. So it's a melting pot of all sorts of men that are getting together. And so that's a great vision statement to have, that you must show respect for everybody that's going to be there, because it's not always easy to get a bunch of people from different demographics and different races and ethnics and diversities and all that together and be able to work together. But I can imagine if you're all working on a project together and you're all bringing in skills, that somehow it just happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's talk about some of the projects that you've done. What's happening? What have you worked on in Nanaimo, or maybe some of the organizations? Because I understand that Men's Shed benefits the community through their work. And so is there something you can share with us?
Sure. There's been a couple of projects over the last year. One was we built a specifically designed, I'd say, raised garden plot. And that was for a care home down in Ladysmith. Uh-huh. And it was designed specifically with the sides not this way, like this, so that people in wheelchairs could come up to
Fantastic.
it and be able to plant things, be part of that group, not be isolated, right? So, And so, and we gave that back to them as part of the community, gave it back. Another one is there's an organization in Nanaimo here that has garden plots. And they've got about 20 or 30 of them there. It's mainly women that are running it and doing a great job. And they asked us if we'd help them with the, the sides. It's all made of wood around the sides.
Yeah, I think we have a photo of that.
Yeah, of the garden plots, yeah. And so we've done 2 or 3 so far, I think it is, and helped them with that. And so, and we're looking for more as we go.
So you're looking for more. So if I belong to a society or organization, or I had an outreach, how would I go about contacting you? And then obviously your team would decide if that would be applicable for your group, yes?
Right.
But what would be the first steps to do that?
Well, you phone us or email us, and then we meet, and as we've done with others before, and then decide mutually, because we supply the labor for no cost. Sometimes it's the materials, they have to buy the material. So we want to make sure that's understood up front, right?
Fair enough.
But it's our give back, it's helping community again, right?
Yeah,
So
great.
So also important to note that we will not undertake a project that could be accomplished by a local contractor or a local business.
I see.
We're not in competition.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. I think this is incredible what you're doing. And I think if you're watching the show today and you are feeling that you need to get out or you feel isolated, we're going to put the contact information below, and we're going to be able to get some of these people that are watching the show, hopefully, to join the Men's Shed. How many people do you have in your Men's Shed at the moment?
Well, we just, it fluctuates a little bit. And so we had nearly 20 in our first few months, but a few members left for whatever reasons. And we've had some new ones come in. We just welcomed our 15th member just this past couple of weeks.
Great.
And we're hoping that perhaps through the program that we can meet a few more and welcome them into our shed.
So how can the community support Men's Shed?
a number of ways. I mean, just being networked with us and with them, and so we can help them, they can help us. Might be a fundraising, might be a community project, you know.
So let's go through some of those things. So can you donate to Men's Shed?
We don't have our website up yet, and that's probably where it is. So if you wanted to donate, I guess the email address would be the
Right.
easiest.
So is this a charitable organization? No. So no tax receipts, but you could make a donation to, let's say I was finding out that Men's Shed was doing something for the Nanaimo Regional Hospital, and I was a fan of the hospital. I could phone you up and say, hey, how can I help? I would like to donate. Yeah.
Well, as you said, you know, how could the community help us? Well, we've networked, although we're not a charity, we have another, community organization that combines with us, and they're a charity. So
Can we talk about that organization?
Sure. Yeah. It's you want to tell them about?
At the moment, we have an agreement with the Connective Society, where they will receive donations on our behalf, and because they are a registered charity for taxation purposes, they will issue a tax receipt for those folks that want that. And this is acceptable under CRA rules.
Of course.
And so that's how we can, if folks do want to contribute money, that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Of course, we're always happy to consider tools or supplies or services in kind. While we have a lot of carpenters, we don't have a plumber.
I see. Okay, well, if you're watching, they need a plumber. All right. So again, you can donate directly to you, or you can donate through your charitable organization alignment. I'm gonna get that website. I want to put that underneath so that people can access that after this interview. If you're a corporate sponsor and you want to be part of this, again, I'm just reiterating, but they can contact you directly. Yes.
Correct.
So, Men's Shed Nanaimo, what if I was an individual watching this show, not in Nanaimo, because we don't want to cause any competition, but let's say I'm watching this somewhere else and I'm like, I might want to start a Men's Shed. How would I go about that?
Well, maybe just to clarify, it's not just Nanaimo, it's Nanaimo and District. We always say
Right,
Nanaimo and
yes.
District. So,
My apologies, yeah.
but I mean, if they wanted to start a shed themselves, there's a process to go through. We could help them with that if they want to connect with us and that type of thing. There's a few men's groups in Nanaimo. There's a men's resource center, and they were kind enough to let us meet in their room before we finally found our own. And so, excuse me, it's just knowing how to do it and getting the information. So, Ken, you could probably talk
Can
more
you
about
go
that,
on the
'cause
Canadian website?
Yes, you can, but there is a provincial men's sheds association here in BC, and they are much more involved and connected at a grassroots level. And so if someone is, I don't know, maybe living in Port Hardy,
Yeah.
and they would like to start a men's shed, to probably connect with the Men's Shed Association of BC for specific information. If they'd like just kind of informal connection, they can contact us,
you directly. Yeah.
and we can share our experience with them and the things that they should look for or try to avoid. But certainly the Provincial Association is one place to start. The Canadian Association has a list of resources that can help with broader things. They provide training opportunities to learn how to govern, for example, or to deal with the money aspects of a shed. And so they're working kind of hand in hand with the Provincial Association.
Well, gentlemen, I think it's a tremendous thing that's happening. I went into this quite naive. I didn't know about Men's Shed. The more I've researched Men's Shed and the impact that it has on the society and this demographic is quite outstanding. What else would you like to share with the audience today about Men's Shed?
Well, it's a great organization, and if you're sitting at home now watching this, strongly encourage you to just give us a call or email us and get together and just come down and have a meeting. So we mentioned Connective before, and fortunately we were in their building. They have a building just in the sort of industrial area here, but they sold it. So we had to move out in April. So we've been looking for another place since then, and I'm happy to report we found one.
Congratulations.
You may know them, Clay Tree Society.
I don't, but okay, that's great.
They help, excuse me.
Big shout out to Clay Tree Society
Yeah.
for offering you a space.
Yeah, they do a great job. I mean, any youth or anybody, I guess I'd say.
They work with folks that have developmental issues.
Developmental issues, yeah.
Yeah. So they're donating this space for you.
Well, it's unused space in their facility, and they would like to make use of it. And when they found out that we were looking for, it was a workshop space. When they found out that we were looking for that kind of space, we made the connection, and it's worked out positively so far.
So I guess my last question would be, how has Men's Shed impacted your life?
Well, I live alone, although I have family here, and it's been, I've met some very fine people, and had an opportunity to interact with others there. In our membership now, at the present time, we have about half of our group is in the same situation that I'm in, living alone, having health issues, mobility issues. The other half are more like John. They still have their partner, they still have a family, some are even still working. And so it's been a way for me personally to meet other people, which is what I was wanting to do, and connect and be able to interact with them. And honestly, it's a great way to deal with feelings of loneliness and tending towards depression kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's tremendous. I'm happy for you. That's great. Would you like to share what it's done
Sure.
for you?
For me, I've always been a give back to community type of guy, and different organizations have done. And so I'm always looking for that. How can I help community? How can I expand? And when we talked about woodworking, that kind of attracted me because I've done some. But here's an opportunity to learn more skills and be with men to do that. Right?
Listen, I'm interested myself. I look around my house, I want to build some cabinets, and I'm like, wait a minute, I might be able to meet some interesting men, learn some skills, right?
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm so happy you guys came on the show. If you're watching the show, I hope that this show has created some impact. I wanted to close with, if you're retired or unemployed or looking for something to do, the Men's Shed is relaxed. It's an active place where you can meet like-minded men, have a sense of purpose and a reason to get up in the morning. Please, if you are out there and you feel that you're in a position where you've had some loss or you're feeling like you need to connect with society and be part of community and give back to community, I cannot urge you enough to join Men's Shed. So gentlemen, thanks again for coming up to Upfront. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time.